Hello and good afternoon. Here's a quick video of what I've been working on recently. Over here you can see the chassis for a wagon. Now this is just a normal 9-foot wheel-based wagon with single-sided brakes, and it's a chassis for this. Now there's a label on this that I've mislaid, but this is a London North Eastern Railway 8-plank open wagon. 8 planks because it's got 8 planks up the side, imaginative enough. Open because it's a wagon rather than being a van. So this is a pretty standard design. Now at the same time I bought these, I bought a couple of other wagons, and one of the other bodies I bought was this. Now you probably can't see through here, but this is a van, and if I try and show through, you can see it's got rivets on the side and it's pretty plain. That's because this is a Great Western Railway mink, and it's an iron mink. So mink was the code for a van, and the iron mink was an iron-plated and iron-sided wagon built by the Great Western. And it turned out to be way too heavy, so they stopped building them. But for a period of time they had them. Now the Great Western didn't use a standard chassis like this. They used one that was unique to the Great Western, with a different kind of braking system called a DC brake, or a Dean Churchwood brake. Now, in 2mm, you could make the argument that from this distance you're not going to tell what kind of brakes it's using, but the whole point of fine scale is that you try and make these accurate. Unfortunately, the Dean Churchwood braked chassis for this isn't available. So I've gone and bought myself a duplicate of this chassis, which is a Shop 2 327 RCH 9-foot wagon chassis etch. Now these two item numbers here are other wagon bodies. I think actually one of those reference numbers is referring to this particular body over here. And the reason it's called RCH is because the Railway Clearinghouse was an organisation that was put together to try and standardise things, to standardise axle boxes, for example, to be oil instead of grease, or to stipulate whether there should be certain like brake levers should be on which side of the wagon, like the left or the right side, and then the front or the back, depending on where you are. And they tried to put these standards together. So the Railway Clearinghouse, they would put designs together, and then private owners could build wagons, and they would build them to this standard. The big four, so that's Great Western, LMS, LNER, Southern, they had their own standards, but more often than not, they built to the RCH specification. So in this particular case, I'm going to be building a standard wagon chassis that's going to be going with the mink. So strictly speaking, that's wrong. But unfortunately, when that's not available, what I might be able to do is co-opt some of the pieces to make my own. But where my thumb is, this V hanger here, that's the hanger for the brakes. And these brakes are these two levers here. My fingernail was pointing at one of the brake shoes. On a Dean Churchwood one, the alignment of those levers is different. So it's quite unique. So I think what I might have to do is just consider this a wagon that has had a new chassis put underneath it. And that's what I'm working on at the moment. This should be done pretty quick. I'm using this to get my eye in to build a locomotive.